Meteorologist Craig Moeller. We don't have anything to talk about, right, Craig? No.
Keep it moving.
Of course. Listen, he has a lot to discuss as we are looking ahead to the possibility of some more wintry weather coming up later this week. I do want to let you know we're monitoring a few things right now, including the final NTSB hearing on that deadly plane crash involving that passenger plane, that American Airlines plane, and the military helicopter a year ago, 2 days from now. That final hearing into what caused that mid-air collision that killed dozens of people. We will have a live look at that in just a minute. But first, I do want to get to you, Craig, because we're thinking now, as there are communities still here in Hampton Roads still having the effects of that snow and ice on the ground, another round could be coming later on this week. What's the time for it?
You know, we just had on the weather desk the fact that some places down across the deep south have been without power from the ice storms for 4 days.
Yeah.
So this is becoming a very serious situation nationally. But that cold air that's in place, check this out, it is going to be with us throughout the week. You can take a look at the forecast here as I pop this for you. See that Canadian Arctic air sinking south and in over the southeastern U.S. Very, very cold air for the coming week, and that is going to set the stage for potential wintry weather as we get into the weekend. So I want to talk about this. Take a look at our winter storm chances for this weekend. The models are developing a coastal low. Call it a nor'easter, call it a coastal low, depending on where exactly its proximity is to the U.S. coastline. There's a good chance this thing is going to come close enough to throw moisture back into this really cold air that's already here, and that would produce potentially some heavier snow. Now, the coastal low is likely to take shape. All right, the models are all pointing to the development of this low pressure, but it hasn't happened yet. Okay, it's going to happen most likely maybe sometime Friday or Friday into early Saturday. This is a classic setup for heavy snow here in Hampton Roads. I used to go to school talks and kids would ask about, snow here. Oh, it never snows, or how do we get snow? The classic setup is to have cold air firmly in place, entrenched across our area, and then to have an area of low pressure, a coastal system, throw copious amounts of moisture into the sub-freezing temperatures that are going to be in place, and then you get that snow that develops. And if you get enough moisture, the snow can become quite heavy. So this is the setup here. Now, is it absolutely going to happen? There are still too many things that could happen one way or another for us to get super specific, as far as, well, what do you think? How much snow are we going to get? I'm not going to take a stab yet. I can tell you the models are going nuts, okay? I mean, super heavy amounts of snow. But I could also see the models completely flip-flopping if that low pressure track, which hasn't even formed yet, if that low pressure that's forecast to develop is another 50 or 75 miles off to the east, maybe a totally different situation. Here's what the Climate Prediction Center from NOAA is saying as far as hazards go into the weekend. Heavy snow for southeast Virginia and for eastern North Carolina. That's just for Saturday. Into Sunday, that spreads farther north and becomes a bigger area, but that's what the CPC has already put out as a hazard outlook. As we take a look at this, you see the two models. These are rings that we're showing. Those are isobars showing the development of the lows. The red is the European, the yellow modeling, which is right below the European, that's the American model, or the GFS. You see they both say, yeah, something's going to develop. The Euro is a little farther north and a little farther offshore. So the Euro is putting out about a third of the amount of snow that the GFS is doing, okay? Still a lot, but just that little subtle difference. You take a look at there at a glance, you go, well, they both are right there, right? Well, no. That's a big difference just there. And then you can see as it goes forward how the GFS is closer to the coast, right in a sweet spot. The Euro, the red one, is farther offshore. That's why we don't get nearly as much with that one. But that's how the two models play out. Let's give you a look at what this means in terms of what you might see on a radar, for instance. You see the outlook from the GFS showing that snow coming in Saturday late morning, and then really for Hampton Roads more like into the afternoon as we go along. And I'm not quite sure why this is not advancing here. Has my computer lost communications? see why it's not doing that. Hang on a second, guys. Yeah, I'm going to reset that model and see if that pops it up. Little technical thing. There you go. Okay, so you can see late morning and then into the afternoon and evening, you get that prolonged moderate to heavier snow. You see that, right? We're not talking about like the light white coloring on the maps. That's where you get like lighter snow showers. When you get into those deeper purples, that's pretty heavy snow. And it's not just there for an hour. It's going on for hours.
It's interesting, not just with us with the potential for that, but I'm also thinking of our neighbors down south in North Carolina, that Raleigh area, and they're still dealing with some major issues too there when it comes to snow. And so we're looking at, what's the saying? When it rains, it pours.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what it would be like in this case, though.
Yeah, when it snows, yeah.
I don't know.
We'll work on something.
We'll work on something.
But what I will say with this, because it's funny, I was talking to my mom who's back in St. Louis, and they were digging out from like a foot of snow. They had a lot. But she was saying, oh my gosh, are we going to get hit with another one? No. Different situation. This would be something specifically for the mid-Atlantic down through the Carolinas and then up along the coast of the Northeast. You can see how the GFS kind of moves it along, and then it kind of winds down there as we go Sunday into Monday. Here's a look at the Euro. A little different in that it brings some snow chances in even Friday evening late. Gets the snow started a little bit lighter, but in this case, it's a little slower in developing that low, and it's a little farther offshore, still producing some chances for pretty heavy snow into early Sunday, but it winds it down more quickly and is out of here by midday. So let's talk about why this is something that we're not saying, hey, we're absolutely going to get X amount of snow, or, it's going to do this for sure. Honestly, we got to see this thing come together, right? It's not even out there. Okay, but the low should develop off the southeast coast. Now, if it takes that pink track, that first arrow, closer to the coast, we'll call it a coast runner or a coastal runner. That's similar to what we saw this past weekend. You remember what happened. We had more warm air, that quicker mix over, so that areas in Hampton Roads, many areas saw the snow overnight, got a couple inches or an inch or so, and then it got slushy and pretty much washed away. That's what happens if it's right along the coast and warmer air gets pulled into it, right? Still could see some heavy snow farther inland. It would be somebody else's problem. But in Hampton Roads and coastal sections of Virginia, North Carolina, that would be a little bit warmer scenario, wintry mix and rain. If it stays where the models have it right now, that pretty much leaves us in the sweet spot for snow and potentially lots of it. If it shifts a little farther to the east, and this is a big part of the uncertainty, if it just swings a little farther off, we could just get a glancing blow. Maybe it's not that bad. It's like, oh, you guys were calling for this and that, and yeah, it never happened. It's possible.
It's incredible to me, Craig, how the slightest difference, it appears, like when we're looking here at these three different potential tracks, the slightest difference could mean everything.
Oh, absolutely, Eugene. And that's what is challenging. I would say in some cases it's kind of fun as a forecaster to try to nail this, to try to say, okay, nature, what are you throwing at us? Okay, we'll see. Sometimes we're right. The modeling can be very good, and sometimes the modeling's out to lunch. We have to rely a little bit kind of on gut and experience and whatever. And sometimes you can throw it all out because, nature sometimes has a way of doing its own thing. Let's talk about what we know and what we don't know yet, okay? You can take a look at this graphic here, Sarah. As we do, we are pretty confident low pressure is going to develop. Again, hasn't happened yet, won't happen. Still for probably 2 days, maybe 3 days before that low develops even. So we're basing a forecast on something that may or may not even happen. But we are pretty confident low pressure is expected to develop offshore. Now, what we also know is that cold air will absolutely be in place. It's going to get even chillier later this week. We'll talk more about that. Coming up, this is that classic setup for heavy snow in Hampton Roads. All of these things we know. If it plays out that way, we could get walloped. But you also have to keep in mind, we know that a small change will have big impacts in what we actually get. Those are the things that we know about this. Now, here's what we don't know. how strong is that low going to become? Is it going to become, a pretty healthy area of low pressure, or is it going to bomb out and become, a massive nor'easter? We don't really know that yet. The models have been kind of varying a little bit in the intensity. We don't know the exact timing of when the precipitation starts and stops, so that also has an effect on how much we see. The exact track of the lows I mentioned, if it's farther east, it's a glancing blow. If it's farther west, we get more rain or mix. So if it stays in the sweet spot, we get the snow, and the extent of the impacts are all a result of that. So we're not trying to be cheeky. We're not trying to play games holding back information. What we're saying is the setup is there for a significant winter event, but understanding full well that a lot can change between now and then.
Yeah, you can have the ingredients to make a good gumbo. Doesn't mean you'll make a good gumbo. When you say the exact time is uncertain at this point, are we talking exact time in terms of during a certain day by the hour, or are we talking which day?
It's most likely going to be Saturday into
Okay.
early Sunday.
Okay.
Now, again, the Euro was starting at late Friday night, earlier Saturday. The GFS was holding it back a little bit later in the afternoon. Most of the models have been suggesting more like a Saturday afternoon, evening thing into Sunday. So it's just going to be one of those things. If it slows down, it could be later, maybe even Saturday night. If it speeds up, it could get in, earlier in the morning on Saturday or Friday. We're not quite sure yet, but it does look like it's most likely going to be Saturday into Sunday.
Okay, so as we're kind of bracing or waiting for whatever that will potentially bring, we know one thing is here right now, Craig, and it is extremely cold right now outside.
Yeah.
Shoot, it's cold in the studio. We got Sarah over here. She told me not to mention it.
She's got her parka on. Go to the high wide. Look at that. It's a puffy jacket.
It's
so cold in
we
here.
are actually outside right now.
It is a little chilly in here.
It is
but
chilly in here.
I don't mind. I don't mind the cooler air. And again, I put on a heavy tweed myself.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, you know what?
You knew, yeah.
Yeah, it's cold. So a lot of times I'll put a vest on when it's this cold. We did have a cold air advisory this morning because many areas saw single-digit wind chills early this morning. It is going to stay cold all week. That we also know, again, single-digit wind chills a possibility. And then we'll be tracking signals for tells with this weekend developing system. As we zoom in, Eugene, I just want folks to know we will see a lot of sunshine today. Temperatures generally mid-30s, maybe mid to upper 30s for a few spots down south, but low to mid-30s to the north. As we take a look, sunshine, plenty with our Thompson Creek Window Company sky views. Really beautiful up in Hampton right there. 23, though. How about that? Sarah, you're making a grimace face. What's that about?
It's almost disrespectful to have the sun icon next to that 23. I know what it means.
I want to know if Sarah can look into our high-wide camera there and make that face. What were you doing? She was doing the full scrunchy nose, snarled lip. Not here for it?
I just don't like extremes.
Yeah.
I can tolerate a little bit of cold, a little bit of heat, but
No
gotta
extremes.
I understand.
Well, we did have those single digits, so it was extremely cold this morning. All right, as we go forward, we also want to mention small craft advisories up for the bay and the ocean. As we go through the afternoon, again, low to mid-30s right on the water, mid to upper 30s for some inland areas. I think mid-30s for the peninsula, middle peninsula, eastern shore, low to mid-30s. Plenty of sunshine, that slightly warmer air. And I say slightly, like 2 degrees warmer for North Carolina. Bottom line is it is cold across the region. Overnight tonight, lows near 20, mainly clear. Again, we're going to see teens inland, Eugene. Eugene, make sure your battery's in good working order tomorrow.
Okay.
You going to come clean?
Okay, my car didn't start this morning. Sarah, I guess I didn't tell you that as well. This has happened before. I think maybe last year or the year before last, we hit a really cold hit, and my car just wouldn't start. It's a newer car. I've taken it to the shop. They say nothing's wrong with it, but for some reason, when I hit certain temperatures, every once in a while, it will not start.
That used to happen
That
to me.
happened to me this morning.
At some point I was just like, I think I just need to replace the battery completely.
I did that.
Oh, okay.
So now I have to take it to see, okay, what else could
What
it
else
be?
is
Yeah,
going on?
what else could
well,
be?
it's interesting. Other parts of the country that frequently deal with this, and other
Mm-hmm.
parts of the world, Northern Europe, you get up into Scandinavia, they have engines with heating blocks in them to keep them
Makes
warm that you
sense.
actually plug in.
Yeah.
Not to recharge them, but to just keep them
Keep them.
warm. That's one of the other things. You talk about things like diesel engines. You have to do fuel additives because the diesel can go bad if it gets too cold. And also some of the electric vehicles, that was also a concern when you get super
makes
cold
sense.
temperatures. They don't perform quite as well. All right, we're going to take a quick look at the 7-day forecast here again. Cold weather Friday into the upcoming weekend, then some snow as we have that potential Saturday into Sunday. Guys, we'll be keeping a close eye to it, and we'll let you know as we get closer to the weekend.
All right, Craig, we appreciate you. And I will say this. If you are going to be outdoors in Hampton Roads, bundle up. I know
Yes,
we're kind
sir.
of keeping it a little bit light here towards the end, but seriously, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. You talked about my car. I was out there trying to get that situated, but even in that short amount of time, man, my
You can
hands
feel it.
were absolutely in pain. Because I didn't have my gloves on when I was trying to get that situated. We're going to have so much more with live Impact News on the other side of a quick break, so stick with us. We'll be right back.